Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of Marcel Plays RCT. Last time we built a beautiful diverse theme park in Trinity Islands, which means that today we have arrived in Katie's Dreamland. This park starts with quite a few rides already there actually, including the iconic mine train coaster called The Storm and Runaway Plumber, an underground steel mini coaster. The reason for this is that it's based on a real park, Lightwater Valley, which is in the north of England. And the roller coaster that The Storm is based on, called The Ultimate in real life, was once the longest roller coaster in Europe. Today it is our task to expand Katie's Dreamland into a big, thriving theme park with lots of rides and decorations. The goal is to get to 150,000 park value at the end of year 3, which should be very doable if we build a few big roller coasters along the way. However, as usual we start with a merry-go-round, which we'll build next to the park entrance. There are these dark green trees all over the park and I don't like it. It gives a really gloomy and kind of depressing ambience, so let's get rid of all the trees and replace them with brighter ones. First though, some fountains and statues on the hill between the ride and the entrance. A lot of RCT1 scenarios have a very limited number of scenery themes available, so we'll see these standard items a lot. Unlike the dark green pine trees, the trees I'm using here look so much brighter and happier, and I think it looks a lot better. For the mini suspended coaster called Forest Flyer that's already next to it, I'm going to do the exact same, replace the dark green trees with brighter ones. I'm also going to paint it red, as I'm not a very big fan of the original green color. There is a little open area at the back, and with the newly unlocked Roman scenery theme we can build a nice little temple there with some statues and fountains. The trees around this coaster will be a bit darker than those around the merry-go-round, and I will put down some small pine trees, but it's still so much brighter than it was originally. We are in dire need of some stalls, but we only have 3 available ones, and that does not include a drink stall. Let's build those 3 next to the entrance and then research some more until we at least get something that sells the nourishment liquid. A food court isn't complete without a sitting area, and the mining theme has some very nice wall and roof pieces that we can use to give the guests some coverage while eating their pizza. After adding some fountains and flower beds, it's time to start work on the first proper themed area of the park. We unlocked the Egyptian theme earlier, so a desert area is a natural choice. The sand of the desert lends itself really well to a wooden coaster type, and the only one we have available at the moment is the mine train coaster. While building this coaster, let's talk a bit about my process for that. I get asked a lot how I build good functional coasters so incredibly quickly, and the answer to that is experience and a bunch of guidelines. The most common cause of an extreme intensity rating is extreme lateral g-forces, which you get if you take a turn too fast. You can often prevent this by banking all your turns, but that's not a guaranteed solution. An additional strategy, which I very often use, is limiting the top speed of your ride. This mine train coaster has an initial steep drop with 2 steep pieces, making it 19.5 meters or 13 units tall. A train will have a top speed of somewhere around 75 km per hour after that drop, which is low enough that the only track piece capable of providing excessive lateral Gs now is an unbanked small turn. Unless you go deep underground to gain even more speed, you won't have to worry about any other types of turns at all. This limited speed also limits the length of the ride, which makes sure you don't spend too much and don't put in too many drops. Of course, you could just put in a second chain lift, but if you limit yourself to just 1 chain lift per ride and make that chain lift not very tall, you will force yourself to build smaller designs. The last thing I want to talk about is how I know that the train will make it through. People often build designs that look great, but halfway through they have put a hill that the train doesn't make. When building a roller coaster, I keep a height limit in my head that slowly decreases as the ride gets longer and longer, and I don't build above that limit. Knowing how high you can exactly go comes with experience, and that's the thing I want you all to understand. I have built thousands of custom roller coaster designs over the past 8 years, of which a lot were specifically designed to be optimized. When I started playing RCT2 a lot again in 2016, I wasn't very good at building custom designs, but due to the sheer volume of dedicated practice and optimization, I have now gotten really good at very quickly building a good functional rollercoaster while not paying that much attention. You can get better too, but it will take a lot of time. With the coaster finished, it's time to name and decorate it. A common name for desert themed ride is something like the Pharaoh's Curse, but that's a bit too generic, so I'll call this one the Pharaoh's Sexy Curse. The Egyptian theme has a really limited selection of scenery items, so all I can really do is place around some sphinxes, statues and obelisks. Oh, and of course some palm trees and cacti as well. This is the final ride, which I think looks really nice. I only remembered to recolor it and add some cacti quite a bit later after building some other stuff, so for the next few minutes of this video it will not have cacti and those colors yet. A lot of scenarios in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 use this blue, greenish, grey colored tarmac path, and I'm not a fan of it. So, to make it look better, I will replace all of those paths in this park with the much more colorful tiled paths, starting with the red variant, and we'll do the rest later with the other variants. During the creation process of the coaster we unlocked 2 more stalls, the drink stall and the ice cream stall, with which we can complete our little food court. This bit of space between the railway and the desert is absolutely perfect for some flat rides, such as a spiral slide. On the hill next to it we put some very orderly bushes. There is just something about this. I absolutely love the way that stuff like this looks when ordered very neatly. Next to the spiral slide we'll put a space range with just 1 ring. This ride has a throughput so low that even with a queue line of just a few tiles it can reach a wait time of about half an hour. There's no reason to do this, I just like to see the guests suffering. After having built a new path connection through the train tracks, which gives us a train crossing, we are left with a space that is best filled by a pirate ship. We could just build the queue line straight down, but that's a bit boring, and one that goes back and forth looks a lot better. A few brick walls in between completes the look. For the scenery it will be a bunch of trees and a fountain with some bushes around it. Fountains and statues are your best friend for breaking up all the plant life, which can get a bit samey if you're not careful. From here I think we need another new path connection, this time right by the lake towards the dirt path. Some fences to prevent people tumbling down the mountain. Later we are left with a spot that is only really right for one ride type, the Ferris wheel. We don't have that right now, but I believe we do unlock it later, so we'll leave this be for a bit and research gentle rides until we get it. I don't want to build anything on the lake as there's already a boat hired there, but I do want to switch it up. The Black Swan is considered the rare one, so there's only 1 of them here, but what if white swans were considered rare for once instead? That's right, from now on this ride will have 5 black swans and just 1 white one. It's time for our second custom roller coaster, and this space is perfect for it. I'm not sure how to decorate it yet, but let's just build the ride and worry about making it look pretty later. This will be a fairly standard issue wooden wild mouse, with a few sudden drops and some very tight turns. I like the very vibrant vibe that the park has going on currently, and to make this fit in we'll color the support white and make the cars all kinds of different colors. Before we start decorating the wild mouse, I want to fill up the space in between it and the already built up area with a well placed haunted house. And what goes better with a haunted house than some oak trees? The more yellowish green color of these trees is really unique among trees in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. You know what? The vibe of the haunted house fits well with a mining themed area, so let's get out the paintbrush and paint this entire area brown with dirt. It's not cheap and it will get us fairly close to bankruptcy, so let's get out the ads again. So far I advertised for 12 weeks once at the very start, which due to the €60 park entry fee got us so much money that only now, halfway year 2, we need to advertise again. The white color of the wild mouse doesn't fit in with a mining theme, so black it will be. Hey, look at this guy, he didn't store his barrels correctly, so now they are barreling down the hill. Earlier I removed a lot of pine and other dark green trees, but I'm bringing them back for this mining area, as that's one of the places they do look really fantastic. I don't know what it is, but the combination of this exact brown color of the dirt and the green of these trees just works phenomenally well. After building a fence and then replacing it with a different type of fence, the mining area is pretty much done. I might tweak a thing or two later as I've been doing in other areas, but for now we can move on to the next thing, which will be the Ferris wheel I wanted to build in that one empty spot. Put some trees around it and put a few more trees here and there, and this area of the park is finished, leaving only the back half to do. Before we get to that, I finally remembered that cacti exist and added them to the Pharaoh's sexy curse. Alright, let's tackle the area around the pre-built go-karts now. There is some space behind it, and after we made it flat, it's the ideal space for a cute little maze. The way I build mazes is by first building a straight path from the entrance to the exit, and then adding dead ends onto the side to fill up the space. Unless the maze is very large, this method keeps it fairly easy for the guests to solve. While we are building the path around the go-karts to connect to the maze, it starts raining again. It has been raining so damn much during this scenario, it's bringing me down big time. It is based on an English theme park, so I guess the never-ending rain is quite accurate, but it's still not nice. I feel so sorry for the British right now, as all this terrible wet weather really sucks. Anyway, time for a car ride around both of these rides. I tend to build my car rides very compactly, but that doesn't make for a very great car ride. One that actually goes around an area of the park is much better and allows the riders to see much more. After having added a whole bunch of trees around the hill, I thought it'd be nice to have the guests stay dry in some of the queue lines when it inevitably starts raining again. There are lots of different wall and roof options in RCT2, so you can mix and match to your heart's desire. With that area done, there is only one bit left, which is the storm. This mine train coaster goes all the way into the very back of the park, around a mostly empty area that you don't own. I am not going to touch this ride, but I do want to add another coaster next to it. The stations don't line up exactly, so we can't properly synchronize the two coasters, but it will look awesome either way. For the first part, I just want to do the same as the mine train coaster, and then in the second half it can start doing its own thing. Originally I had the idea to go both over and under the storm, but it hugs the ground so tightly that that's not really feasible. With 3 vertical loops and 2 helixes we make it back to the station and have an awesome looping coaster. I wasn't trying to do this specifically, but the ride times are almost identical, meaning they would synchronize quite well if they could. I would really like to change the area in the middle of these coasters, but I need to own it before I can do that. Luckily, you can buy the land, but that will remove the fences, and I like the aesthetic of the ride going around a fenced off area. So before I buy the land, I'll trace around the park fence with another fence. And now let's go bankrupt buying that land. Yeah, I stupidly bought land until I was completely broke, and I already maxed out the loan earlier. Luckily, we do have enough income to quickly afford 1-2 week advertisement, and with that we can soon enough scale up to running all the ads, and now we'll be making good money again. While we wait to make money to finish this area, we can already work on some other things that don't cost as much to build, such as a launched freefall in this empty spot. Another bunch of ordered rows of bushes, some fountains and some decorative trees later, this area looks very nice. With enough money to buy the rest of the land and have some left over, we can start filling in this area with trees. This is one of the few places where I do appreciate the dark green trees in this park. They certainly have their charm, but if the entire park looks like that, it's a bit too much for me. I do still want to add something extra though, so the hill in the middle will be transformed into a little mining area with a mine shaft, some huts, some wood and a bunch of barrels. There is still one small empty area between the storm and the underground coaster, which shall be granted to the top spin. There's nothing particularly special here, just some hedges, some bushes and some brightly colored trees. With a few final touch-ups, a flower bed here, some bushes there, some more flower beds over there and of course some bushes right here, the park is finished. The goal was to get a park value of 150,000 and we got about 50% more than that with 226,000. Not bad when most of the time spent building is on decorations instead of on rides. Most of the park is quite generically themed with tons of trees, bushes and flower beds, but we do have two heavily themed areas with one desert themed roller coaster and a mining area. And with that we complete Katie's Dreamland with 50% more than the required goal and an absolutely beautiful theme park. To see the previous episode of Marcel Plays RCT where I did Trinity Islands, click right here. Thank you all for watching and I will see you in the next video.